if you Google just one thing instead of listening to me for the next 10 minutes or so, let it be the 2 sigma problem. The 2 sigma problem is one of the greatest problems we face in education today, but it's been around for 30 years. So in 1984, a chap called Benjamin Bloom wrote a research paper. He called it the 2 sigma problem. In it, he analysed the performance of students both in a classroom situation and in a one-to-one tutoring situation. And what he found was remarkable. What he found was that the same student taken from a classroom and put into a one-to-one situation would perform, generally speaking, about 98% better than the average student in a classroom. It's a difference of 2 sigma, as he called it. That's the difference between somebody failing, somebody passing. A C and an A. And what this was fundamentally telling us is that we're not all born to be C students, we're not all born to fail, we can all succeed. We just have to be taught in the right way. He called it the 2 sigma problem because, unfortunately, we can't afford to teach everyone in a one-to-one tutored situation. We don't have the resources to do that. That was 1984. Fast forward to today. I think we could be on the cusp of solving Bloom's 2 sigma problem. Technology has allowed us some great advances in education, and we've been constantly hearing more about online and the potential. And I think all of this is coming towards a better personalisation of learning. That's what Bloom was really getting at, that in order to be successful, education has to be personalised. So I'm thinking about things like adaptive learning. This is software which can modify the challenge of a particular task to a student's level of ability, to give them the right feedback to allow them to go further. I'm thinking about analytics that tell us our strengths, our weaknesses, show us our progress, compare us with our peers. And I'm also talking about peer-to-peer or collaborative learning, the sort of thing where we don't have to learn just from a teacher, but we can learn from one another in any environment. We don't have to be in the classroom anymore. We can be online, we can be at distance. That last bit, peer-to-peer, is what I do. Peer-to-peer learning is kind of my specialty, and I'm over at the International Digital Lab here at Warwick University looking at peer-to-peer learning. There's a little problem with peer-to-peer learning, which is it only works when people do it. It only works when people choose to participate in an online experience together. So I've been investigating methods that we could use to get people more readily collaborating, talking, working with each other. And in particular, I'm interested in this word. I'm interested in the word gamification. Gamification is a made-up word. If you look on Google Insights 2 years ago, it didn't exist. You look at it today, it's incredibly popular. Game designers hate it. It undermines everything there is about the art of game design. Learning designers hate it because it simplifies learning too much, and everybody else hates it because it's a made-up word. But I'm a fan. I'm one of the only fans. And what it's talking about is the application of game-like behaviors, game-like mechanics, but in non-game environments. Taking the bits that we like most in games, taking the bits that motivate us, that engage them, and transferring them out of a video game environment and into other aspects of life, other aspects of software and the real world. You'll see gamification in all sorts of places. The social networking sites like LinkedIn use it to some extent. You'll see it in places like Nike Plus, the new sort of running machines that you can have on your feet, takes it to the cloud, compare against yourself and other people. Khan Academy, Code Academy, online learning places are starting to pick up on gamification. And I was really interested in it too. I wanted to know if we could use things like experience points to allow people to know when they're getting better at something. Levels to give them the challenge to go up a level, to increase the difficulty of something. Recognition badges, rewards that they could keep to signify that they'd made a quality contribution somewhere. So I set about 4 years ago with this question: does it work? Does it do anything? About 3 years in, I came to this answer. I was done, but I still have 3 years to go, so they asked me to do a little bit more. why does it work? What do we see when we look at gamification in peer-to-peer collaborative learning? Well, we see three key things. We see firstly that actually it does what we asked of it. It can increase participation. In control studies that I've done here at Warwick University and also in the United States, we've seen that gamification mechanisms can be used to increase student participation in online collaborative learning. We've actually taken it further than that. We can tell you that the amount of experience points you get in one of these environments could go on to predict the sort of grade you're likely to get in an end of test assignment or something like that. Now that's not 100% accurate, that's just a correlation, but what is 100% accurate is that those students that struggle in the game will struggle when it comes to assessment. We can highlight at-risk students very easily. Students who score less than half the average number of experience points of other people going through one of these experiences will struggle. And we can take them aside and work with them in other environments, in other ways, to understand the difficulties they're facing, to get them up and over the 2 sigma hurdle. So the answer seems to be very obvious. Just gamify everything. Everything's worth a point. Everybody gets badges. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe not. Trouble is, it's not quite that simple. I want to tell you about one experience that we put together. We took 33 students, adult learners actually in this case, part-time adult learners, and we made a gamified collaborative learning environment for them. We required them to comment and contribute on each other's work in order to earn experience points and reach a level 8 is what they had 6 weeks to gain. But we made it very difficult indeed. You had to contribute to everything. You had to comment at every given opportunity in order to reach this level. So at the end of 6 weeks, we downloaded all the data. 33 students had made 2,217 contributions in their spare time. Enormous amounts of data. And we decided that just before we gave ourselves a quick pat on the back for being just so awesome at getting people participating in this stuff, that maybe we should look at the quality. Maybe we should just investigate what these comments said. We used a model called cognitive presence to analyze the level of critical thought that was going on in the debate that these people were generating. And we came to a bit of a disappointing discovery. 78% of the comments and contributions they'd made were completely useless. They added nothing from a critical level of thought to the conversation. They weren't philosophizing about nuclear physics. They were saying, yeah, that's nice. Great, I agree. Didn't add anything to the debate. We'd done it wrong. We'd got participation, but we hadn't got the sort of participation we wanted. So, what I'm here today to tell you a little bit more about gamification is to say that there's a sweet spot. There's a point at which we think it works. So we ran another experiment. This time, hopefully learning from our mistakes. One of the big problems with peer-to-peer online collaborative learning is that it tends to need a moderator. It tends to need a human person to direct, to cajole, to motivate people to do it. But that limits us in terms of the 2 sigma problem because we're just back to needing a lot of resources. We've got to have a way to do this without the need for the human, the teacher. So we wanted to set up an experiment of our gamification mechanisms against a teacher. So we actually looked historically. This is a study done by Kanuka in 2007. And this is the cognitive presence model being used to analyze the sorts of contributions that her class made. And as you can see, sort of levels 1 and 2, they're significant of people starting to get into critical thought, but not really progressing to the higher levels of thinking. And 3 and 4 are the number of comments and contributions these students have made that really are critical thought, that are taking 2 or more ideas, integrating them together in a personal circumstance, and coming up with novel solutions to problems. So levels 3 and 4 about 35% of the time. And that's pretty standard around sort of an analysis of any online discussion. That was the human. We set our game up, we set our students going. What do we find? It's exactly the same. It's almost exactly the same when we got it right. In our game, Levels 1 and 2, 64% versus 65, 36, 35. They're almost exactly the same. And this doesn't account a couple of contributions. This is made up of thousands of contributions that have been delved to be these levels. It's a remarkable finding that suggests that actually gamification can be used. So off the back of this, we wanted to analyse, well, what was it? What did we get right? And this sentence sort of sums it up. Where we reward competence, not completion, is where we see the biggest successes with gamifying online environments. Where we don't reward people for reaching the end, but we reward people for participating in the journey and doing so well. Where we give out experience points for quality, badges for recognition of a particular effort that's been made, then we can see that competence is being rewarded and gamification works. This is what I believe could be an absolutely key enabler of online learning in the future. Something that allows us to facilitate peer-to-peer learning, but without the need for a constant moderator. And it's already happening. It already happens on websites all over the web. We just need to embrace it a little bit more in education. So I'm a big fan of gamification of education when it's done right. And I think that using this sort of technique alongside other things like mastery learning, like analytics, like playing games, we can solve the 2 sigma problem. Thank you.